Welcome to Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. And in this part, what I'm going to be doing is talking about probably one of the most interesting and frustrating elements of the game. That is designing rail tracks. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be building any rail. What I'll be doing is just talking about the process of designing a rail yard and doing connections. It will be primarily orientated towards the manual construction perspective. But if you're into auto building, you'll probably might find some of the tips I talk about useful. Now, before that, I just want to give you a bit of an update of the progress of the game. In the last part, we built the heating plant here, and I started construction on the hospital, which is now finished, which is providing a good service to the city. I've got the Lenin University laid out in the HQ. I'm not building that. I've planned another dwelling here because this city is filling up incredibly quickly. I've also put this road in here, which is going to act as a guide with when I actually get round to building the construction. So I think that's enough of the introduction. Now I want to get on to why I'm talking about laying rail tracks now, because I know some of you may think, well, he hasn't even built a steelworks or anything, so why is he talking about laying out rail tracks? Well, the problem is I've got a bit of a dilemma, because if I want to build this steelworks, because if I'm going to be able to drive my economy, I need to be able to make my own steel and my own components. But the problem I've got is if I come right over to the customs shed, what you will see is I've got a big traffic jam here. So there's no way I can use dumpers to bring in either the iron or iron ore, if I remember correctly. Let's have a look at the prices. You can see here the iron is 95 rubles a ton, which is a big difference to the cost of steel, if I can find it, which is 1100 rubles a ton. And of course you've got mechanical components down here which are even more expensive. So if I could get a minimal production going, I think I can make a big difference. The problem is that I can't overload this area much more than I already am. So this is where having a rail network is going to be a big bonus. If I can import the iron or iron ore using the rail network, it's going to make life a lot easier. The problem is I've got to build it. That is the dilemma that I'm in. That's the reason why I feel that I need to design a rail connection here that I can then get the steel mill in, start producing minimal steel, and a lot of those resources will go into laying down the tracks, which will then bring in the iron to the steel mill, which will make me more productive, which means I can then start to build more and I can start to build my economy up. That's the theory, and that's the reason why in this video we are going to be looking very much at this area about designing rail tracks. I'm now going to pause the game because I'm going to be completely honest, there's no way I can design tracks and talk about them and keep an eye on the rest of the city. So we're not going to do any more work on the city. The rest of this video is going to be very much about designing and laying out tracks. And I suppose probably the best way is to start at the beginning. Now, as I've already said, the laying track is deceptively easy and very interesting. But it's very easy to lay out tracks which give you an absolute nightmare when you start to develop and build the city. Now, normally when I'm laying out railroads, and this is one reason why when I play on a very flat map, I like to have cities that specialize in a specific resource. So like this would be the coal steel factory, then over somewhere else I'd have oil. And then that makes connecting up the various cities and building the various internal connections quite straightforward with respect to railways. But the problem I've got here is all my key resources are going to have to be clustered around this city in order to drive the economy, because I'm going to need the resources to get out to here to get the iron and the oil, which means I've got to build railways, which means I need steel, and if I need steel I need a connection to the customs border with the track. So that's the situation I'm in. When you start to lay out railways, whether you're auto building or manual building, the thing you need to consider is where are the connections you need to make and how to space them out so that you can get a distance between junctions that can take a reasonable train length. And again, this is an early decision you need to make. Are you going to run with relatively short trains, which I will be doing simply because I can't afford them, or take advantage of the feature where you can have really long trains? But bear in mind that if you're having really long trains, you need very long distances between switches and signals. So I think probably the best way to get started is actually do the connections. Now I'm going to be completely upfront. In front of me, I've got a sketch map of what I want to do. And what I'm going to be trying to do is turn that into reality. We're going to need a connection here to the steel mill. We're going to need that one because we're going to need to export steel. We're going to need this one because we may need to export components. I also have a long-term idea that this warehouse or another warehouse alongside it could be used to export like food and other items, clothes and that to the other cities. Now the next thing I was looking at, if you watched the previous video, I put a passenger station up here, and I think this is too narrow. So what I'm thinking is I would like to have a train platform maybe tucked down in here. Of course we've got the new power supply that I laid in to run the heating plant here. So I think if we put a train system there, and again I'm just going to tag it with there. I mean the actual iron ore connections okay down here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 connections here. Now in the long term eventually I will flatten this area, and what we will have up here is our oil refinery, maybe plastics factory and chemicals factories. So we're going to need to consider making a road across there. Now the next big connection I need to consider is a gravel loading area, because we're going to need to ship large quantities of gravel down this line and to be able to build bridges and all that. So that's something else I need to consider. And I've got a little bit of serendipity in the sense that over here, if I show you the conveyors, I've got conveyor connections here and here. So I'm hoping that somehow I'll be able to navigate a conveyor through here over to here, so that I can have say a gravel loading dock around here. I'm thinking aggregate loading. This is slightly angled like that. I think I would like to maybe have this saying just control, so it's kind of facing in that direction. Maybe a little bit like that. I'm a bit worried about the ground depressing there a bit, so I think we'll just push this in over a little bit. I think maybe about there. Again, when you're planning rail tracks, keep everything in design mode as long as possible, because you may need to make corrections. In fact, I'm going to make a correction straight away. We just have to jog the game a little bit to do that. I think what we're going to do is just move this back a little bit this way. I think that will work. Maybe just about there. Trim off this bit a little bit. Oops. We're just going to, I think if I put it about there, maybe a slight nudge that way. Okay, so that is going to be our aggregate loading, and of course because I put this here, that means that my construction yard is going to have to be somewhere around here as well, because that also needs gravel. So let me just check the roads connection. Just level this out a little bit so that we won't have a problem with. So we've now got my aggregate, and I think this is going to be the starting point of what I want to lay out. I think we're going to have to change this, and the first thing I need to do is kind of come here. Oops, I want roads, I want rail, and well, obviously we're going to need a connection to go out here. Let's go up that line if I'm going to build a city that way. So I think I'm just going to come out here. I'll come out a reasonably straight route to start with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a couple of chain signals, which I'm going to take away. The reason I'm putting these in is that I want to put a crossover, because again, this is one of the key decisions you need to make when you are laying out track. Do you go single track with passings or double track? I'm going to be completely honest, I'm very much a fan of double track, but there is a way that you can have single track with double track if you lay out the plans. And the thing we need to do is get a crossover in here. And then what I'm going to do is just take the signals away. Just make sure that I can put them back in again. Yep. This is something you do need to consider, even when you're just playing, like even when you're just laying out a basic track. Consider the way you're going to signal the track as you go along. Now, this is also very specific in relation to where if you are going to be building the track manually, because when you build track manually, the game goes through kind of two steps. The first step, when you're laying the initial track, you've got to lay the track out in a way that your track laying vehicles can get to everywhere we can lay track. Now, one thing you've got to accept is you're not going to get everywhere. No matter how hard you try, you are never going to get to every single little bit of track. So you will have to auto build some bits of track. And the first stage consists of your construction trains going out building the track. But eventually you will get to a point where you want to use the track, which means you've got to signal it, and then your construction vehicles are going to have to deal with the actual signals themselves. So this is something you need to consider when you're actually laying out track. I don't like this. We're going to have to make a change here. This is going to have to come out. And I'm just going to... I think we'll take it right back to here. Like that. And I think we'll take you all the way back to... Oops. There, like that. It's like I've deleted one of the inside tracks here. Can I put it back in? Yeah. We'll just put you back in there. And what I'm thinking is I need to come out a little bit straighter. What I should really do is put the track on the hotbar. And we're just going to come out a little bit like that. Now comes the fun bit. What I'm going to do is lay this bit right round like that. Oops. We're going to lay you in like that. And we're going to run you round to there. And what this is going to do is give me the position of the main line. So what I need to do with this area now is we need a mainline track that's going to run all the way through. And when you lay out a mainline track, keep the junctions to a minimum. So don't ever put stations or really strong direct connections onto your main line. What you want to do is keep the main line as free of junctions as possible. And what I'm going to do is run you. I'm going to curve you back slightly like that. And then what I'm going to do is put the main line alongside like that. And I think what we're going to do is I get that. I think what we're going to have to do is come through to about here. Should cancel that and start again. That, yeah. I think we'll run through straight to about here. And then what I'm going to do is, well, that's good. That's great. I like that. And we've now got this track in here. So we've now got this bit laying here. Probably could afford to trim this back a little bit now. Like that. Oops. I'm just going to take a look at my sketch drawing just to remind myself of what I need to do. One thing I like to do when I'm laying out complex tracks layouts like this is I like to do a quick sketch map with the terminals of where I want to put things, and then what the track layout would look like as part of the process. And then, I mean, there's always an issue with scaling, but that's the way it is. Okay, we got a little bit of a break here. Just going to take you out there. I'm just going to connect you into there like that. Now, I think to get this connection, I need to do this connection first. So we're just going to... sorry, I'm going to have to do this. Otherwise, I'm going to be forever going in and out of the menu all the time. The only trouble is remembering which one you want to use. And what we're going to do now is book you. I'm thinking is for you to come in like that. So that now gives me a connection in this direction, and that gives me the connection in that direction. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, why isn't he going that way? The reason is that I'm going to have my construction office down here and my train depot. In fact, I'm a little bit worried about that. Just pancake this down a little bit. Okay. Now, I've got a key decision here, and this is again is something you need to consider when you are designing tracks. Now, this track coming in here is going to be very close to this. So what you've got to decide on is whether these two junctions are going to be part of the same block. And if you're not too sure what blocks are, I'll just try and explain it. So if we come in like that on this track here and come into here like that. So what I've got now is two junctions close together. Now what you don't want is a train to get in here to say go down there if there's a train already in here. So what you need to do when you're considering designs is how the block's going to work. And one thing they actually did is, I think it's the current update, but the one before, they actually introduced a color scheme which helps you see the block. So I'll just block this up just as a example. I'll put the chain signals in first. Chain signals are always put when you go into a junction, because what a chain signal says is you cannot enter this section unless the section behind is actually clear. So if I put that there, and then of course what you'll see is if I put these in like that, you'll see that the block colors will start to appear. Oops. Well, I can leave that the way it is. Okay. As I said before, this is one of the most fun and frustrating elements of the game. And what you see there with these signaling is I've created this as a block. It means that if a gravel train comes in here and wants to go down there, it will not enter this section until this section here is clear, because what you would have also down here is another signal like that, which would create a block. So as long as the gravel train coming down here will fit into that section, you're okay. What it will mean is that if you have an iron train coming up here, the iron train will not be blocked by a gravel train going into there. Let's just take the signals out again, because of course, as I've already said, you don't want to signal this up when the initial phase, because it will actually confuse your construction trains. So we've got that there now, and the next thing I need to consider is power. Now we've got our power grid here. So what I'm thinking is, let me just run. I'm just going to extend the main line. Will the grid help me? Not really, because I'm not orientated to the grid. Okay, we're gonna have to do it by eye. So I think if we come to say about there with the main track, and then what I want to do is put in my power feed here. Actually, trim that back a little bit actually. So about there, then we'll just put the power connector in here. It's quite tricky to get this power connector in against an existing track without putting a kink in it, but I'll just try and nudge it a little bit like that. You can see there's a slight kink there, but I can live with that. That gives me the power connector, and what I'm going to do now is we're just going to actually let's trim this back. I don't know, I mean, gravel trains can be quite long, so maybe we'll just hook this in here. And you can see what's happening now is we've got this line coming up, so trains coming in this way can come in here, trains coming in and leaving here can go out that direction. And what I'm thinking now is would like to do is put the main line in something like this. So this is going to be the main line that will run right through the complex, and we've got a connection there, so just hook for that. Don't really like that connection there. It's like this is going in this direction when it shouldn't be. So let's just trim this back. So okay. Why have I got a little kink there? Okay, that's a little bit better. So that's our main line through. Oops, I haven't connected it. It's okay. So trains coming through here can run all the way through here to this area here and run all the way through to the customs shed. Got a power connector there. And I suppose we need to consider a road down through here. So that bit's there. Now I suppose the next thing I want to do is put in the construction yard, and our construction yard here. And what we're going to have to do is put in something like that. I want it close enough to here so that workers can probably walk to it. So if I come to about there, and it's close as possible to the main road, maybe in a smidge like that. So what that would mean is I should be able to hook my gravel conveyor to the construction yard and to this. Now what we need for here, I can't remember what I need. Whoops. Now to actually, this needs supplies of prefabs, boards, bricks and electronics. So what we need is a warehouse and a open store. So and again, this is when you're going to be building track manually, you do need to consider this quite extensively. Let me see, maybe, I mean, I'm not going to store that much in the way of electronics, so maybe I can get away with a small warehouse here. So if we put us, okay, get out of the way. I don't really want to put a small warehouse here because the conveyor will be there. I think we can sneak in. It'd be nice to get that like on that road junction. I think maybe we can just sneak that in like that, and then we'll just put in storage medium junction. I think I'm going to go small because I'm not going to have the resources to fill this up, simply because I won't have the money. And of course, one thing you do need to remember is that this is effectively a starting construction office. Maybe later on I may have to put another one in somewhere else to be able to keep it going, because there is a limit to how much you can build from one construction office. So maybe just the one here will be fine. No, I'm going to go for it. Of course, if you look, the rail connection is actually in the wrong place, but I think if I can just there, I think if we can get that just in like there. So we've now got this built up and laid out. Now the next thing you need to consider is how are you actually going to connect your construction office to the to be able to build all the track that you need. And this is something you need to consider. Now it's very tempting to do this and just run the track into there. Personally, I don't like doing that because one, it makes some of the building a little bit difficult, and two, it leaves permanent junctions in there where you've got to signposts, like especially here. So I'm getting close to the gravel access junction. So what I'm actually going to do is something I much better prefer. That is to come out here. Now I am using electrified track for a reason which I'll explain in a minute. If you were going to use this as a pure construction, what you do is just use concrete based. What I'm going to do is come in here and come down here, and all I'm going to do is have a single connection to here. And what will affect, to begin with, the construction vehicles can come out here. Actually, no, let's cancel that. Let's do this in a slightly different way. Let's just cancel this. Just take that out. I think I will bring this in as 2 here, and what I will do is put a crossover here again. I'm just going to make sure we got signal positions, and I'm just going to put a crossover here. Actually, I think that might make things a little bit more versatile. I'm just going to come out like that. When we first start building track, the track constructor can come out any way it wants and start to build this, but once we start signaling up the track, what we'll have is an out route and an in route. That's the way it's going to work a little bit. So we've now got this built here. Now next thing you need to consider is how much of the track can you build. So we can build up this bit here, we can come out here. We can't build this bit, well we can build this bit in here because I've put this section of little track in here, and I think there's one in here, so we can build these sections. We can come out there. The bit we can't build is this bit here, because there's no way a construction train from there can come in here. So what we need is the ability for the construction trains to turn round and double back on themselves and build this section. And I think what we're going to do is just come in here, and I'm going to, oops, maybe it's a bit too wide, and what I'm going to do is come around here and build that. Now what you see is I'm actually building this with a concrete base, because this is not going to be part of the main line. The idea of this is to allow the construction trains to come round here. Then eventually, once the main construction's finished, I will actually break that track. Now this will allow the construction trains to come out here and get onto this side. What we're going to need to do is just put in a little connector there, which will allow the construction trains to come out around here and then go down here. And once this section's been built, we can effectively take this away. So that's the reason why you don't really need to electrify it, because you're never going to let trains turn round there. So we've got this built here. Now the next thing I want to do is put in a train depot, I think. Let me just look at my plan. Okay, so what next thing I want to do is put in a train depot. Where is it? Now there are long train depots here, but I'm not going to really be able to use this, so what we're going to do is just put in a short train depot here. And what I'm going to do is kind of put it in, say, I think I can afford to be a bit extravagant here. So what we could do is put this so that the road from the train depot will go across the front of the open store. So if we put that there, and just put that there, I think I'll just test the road. So we can build that, and then that can connect into there. So that will work. And then what I'm going to do is, again, the same principle as I've used with the construction office. I want my trains to be able to get anywhere. So what we're going to do is run the trains through this depot here, rather than, because the other option would be to connect up to here. But then again, you're putting too many connections on this line, which could then cause problems. And to be honest, the number of trains I'm going to be purchasing is going to be quite small. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook you into there like that. So we've now got this built here. In fact, what I could do is take out this bit here and just take this section out here back to there, and just take this back like that. And what we can do is connect you up to there and there. It's kinked a bit there. No, it's not. It's okay. It's straightened out. And of course we've got the crossover there. So what we'll do is put these as bi-directional track, and then what I'll do is I'll come out like that with the prefab connections there, like that. What we'll probably do is treat this as a completely self-contained block. So we'll have signals there, signals there, signals there, signals there. So what happened is that a new train leaving here will obviously go out on this side, and this line is for any trains that, in the unlikely event any other trains return. And of course, what with this loop back here, the construction trains will have to loop back and build this section here. So I'm quite happy with that. Now comes the fun bit. I've got to connect up these 4 connections, and I do have a plan, but I'm gonna have to look at my sketch plan again. Sorry about this. What I need is a line coming in here, and we got this here. So what I'm gonna do is, hopefully I'm gonna get this right. If not, I'm gonna be scrubbing out a lot of track. What I want is another track there, and another track alongside it, like that. And then what we're going to do is do exactly what I did last time. That might be a bit too close. We're just going to trim this back a bit, and I'm going to kind of curve this track, do it in 2 sections, I think, like that. So we've now got this track curving around like this, and effectively I'm going to be using the same principles I've used down here. I'm going to have both directions coming down here, so we're going to push that down like that, and then what I'm going to do is kind of curve this round a bit like that to come away from there, and then I'm going to run this track like this. I know it's going to be a lot of track to lay, and I know some of you will be saying, well, it's a very expensive way to lay track, especially as I'm short of cash. But what you've got to remember is that when you're laying track, be extravagant. Don't be a cheapskate. Just really lay the track down, because the bit greater the distance is between signals, and the more scope you've got, just makes life a lot easier going forward. And what I'm going to do now is we've got a nice long run in there, and what I'm going to do is come out like this here, and we're going to run up to here, and then we're going to run along a little bit like that, and then we're going to cut across there. You see we've got a nice long length of track here should we want to run long trains. We've got this section here, and we've got our first train here. So we're going to bring you out like that. Oops. And again, we're just going to put the chain signal in so I can see where to do the crossover, because this passenger train system will be 2-way, and we got that connection there. So what I'm going to do is come in out about, oops, why are you trying to go over there? And then we're just going to connect you into there like that. So what that means is that the train leaving here can come up through here, enter this section. Now my passenger trains aren't going to be that long, so they'll be into this section here. They can go that way if they go in that direction, and that way in that direction. And this is quite a long loop, so I think I can trim this back a bit. Actually, no, because I want to have a connection here for my oil trains. So maybe we'll get this here, like, whoops, and then we'll hook you in like that. And I think I put the oil connection in straight away, so as a reminder. And so we got that junction there, that junction there. So if I take a, actually, and if you're coming off a track, it always pays to do the inside one first, like that. And then what we'll do is we'll run you up like that. And of course, there's a very real possibility that we may have another oil connection over here. So what this will be is, once I actually connect up my oil fields, the oil trains will come down here, come into here, and we'll have an oil offloading section here and the refinery. So we've now got that track built there. Now comes the fun bit. I think we're going to take out that section. Just sometimes it pays just to use the bulldozer if you're clearing up to a building, because what will happen is if you get too close, it will just put out a little flag and say, do you want to delete the building? And so, right, we've got to get these three connections in here. So I think we're going to run you through here like this, and I think we'll start with this one, and if we run you into there, we can take out that section there, that section there, and I think if we run you up to, say, about here, and you can come into there, that gives me the connection to the steel mill. Thank you for the autosave game. And now this is where things could get a little bit tight. So what I'm going to do is we're going to split the difference here, and you can come off like that and run into there. You can run into there, run all the way up to here, and run into there, and then you've got a long distance here. So what I could do is, I mean, I could spur off of this track, but I think probably, again, considering we'll be exporting steel, we're not going to have really super long trains. Let me just come here, and you can come in like that, run up to, say, about there, and maybe a bit closer, and run into there. So that now connects up my passenger station, my warehouse, my open store, and the steel mill. And I think I've got there, believe it or not. I'm not totally sure. We're going to need to put a road in here. Oh, it's not going to come through. We're going to have to... You can always rely on the game to mess you up a bit. It's gonna, yeah, this crossover's the problem. But, come that way. Now, I do have a bit of a problem in the sense that I want to have a road over that way. Okay, cancel that. Can I get across just in front of this crossover, or can I move this crossover a bit more that way and integrate this? Oops, wrong one. Let's take that out a bit, and if I say I put that there, that should give me a section of road here. And what I want to do is come out too steep. Okay, why is that? Too steep an incline. wire frame on. Yeah, there's a little bit of a bulge there, and a little bit too much on this side as well. So if we drop this down a bit, I really want to get a road through here. Okay, we've got a road through there, and we can connect you up like that. So we've got a road connection there. Now what I really want to do is put a bridge over here. I mean, we could put a bridge over here, but we'd have to bridge 4 tracks, and I don't think a bridge will actually do that. I'd rather put a bridge here. I must admit, I'm not a great fan of bridges. Road. Let me see. And we need to go across this track. This is a prefab bridge. So not too high. This is angle too steep. Okay. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this bridge in one way or another, and I'll be right back. Right, it's taken a little while, but I finally managed to get across. I'm just going to drop this down. And again, I mean, it's not going to win any awards, and it's got to have a very tight turn here. In fact, yeah, I can just get that in like that. But what it means is I will have a bridge over here, which will allow vehicles to get into this area for my oil production without actually affecting the main railway line. And I think that is about it. Let me just check my sketch plan. Right, I've checked my sketch plan, and I think I've fulfilled all the requirements I sketched out. I mean, I could adjust some of these junctions going forward, but I'm quite happy with that. It leaves me space up here for power lines, which is something else I wanted to consider. And we've got our power connection there. We've got our aggregate storage. I'll do the conveyor belts off camera, because I think I've done enough conveyor belts now for you to get the idea of that. We've got a power connection to there. We've got a bridge over there, which will allow us a connection to our oil supply. We've got another option should we need to ship fuel and that out to this city coming out this way. Got a little circular connection there. I just want to run through to make sure I can do all the, just turn the wireframe off, all the connections, so this can come back this way. The one area we've got here, problem area, is here. So how can we get our construction vehicles to build this? We need a loop back somewhere. I'm very tempted to say, because we need to build this, I'm kind of very tempted to we put a, say, a loop like this down to there, like that. That means that the construction trains can come into here, round here, back to there. The only thing is they won't be able to get up to the other side. They will be able to get round here up to there. Let me just remove this again. Like that. I think if we move this as close to this as we can and try and do this loop in as tight as we can. Yes, maybe that's a little bit too tight. So we're just going to take that out and just do that there. What we can do is just put a another crossover here, like that. And then what we can do is the construction trains can come out of there, round here, and choose whichever way they want to go to build this section. And then what we can do then is take this out and this out once this section's been built. And again, if you're auto building, you don't need feedback loops like this, but it's a fact of life if you want to build it. Of course, the other option is that you just save up a money, even if you're building manually, and just auto build that. But in some ways I like the challenge, but even I will concede defeat occasionally if you get, because quite often what you get is very small sections of track which the game just point blank refuses to build. And we've got that area there. We do have a problem down here with respect to this line, but one thing I am considering is putting in a junction here similar to the other end that will allow me to send trains out through here into this area here. In fact, I think just to wind the video up, I'll just put it in. No, I won't, because I want to adjust this bit of track as well. And I've got no idea how long this video's actually lasted. I'm pretty happy with this layout. I think it's going to work. I think I'll be able to avoid the worst of any jams and collisions. Obviously, it's going to be very expensive to build, but I've got no choice on that. And probably the way I'm going to build this is I'm going to probably build a single track line first out of here, because of course we're going to have to come out of here. We're going to have to connect up the train depot so we get it. So what we'll probably do is build a single track out this way and round here. So we'll build this bit in, run a single track down to here, and then we'll run it out through here to the steel mill so that we can get a train running. And then eventually we will start signaling things up, so then our construction trains can get out and start building track as and when the steel comes available. But this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. Any comments, feedback, any tips you've got on manually building trains, feel free to chuck them in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions in this area because I know fairly much what a nightmare this all can be. And as I say, this is both one of the most interesting and frustrating aspects of the game. But until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.